You've told yourself to stop more than once, more than you'd admit, and for a moment it works. Then it's back, louder somehow than before you tried. That's not weakness. That's not who you are. That's your brain doing something specific, something it was built to do. It was never about what you thought it was about. Most people who experience this privately believe one of two things. Either something is wrong with them, or they're just wired differently and there's nothing to understand. Neither of those is quite right. And the space between them, that's where this video lives. If you've spent a long time feeling like the only person quietly carrying this, you're not even close. And if this is the kind of content you've been looking for without knowing what to search for, you're in the right place. The thought isn't the problem. What's under it is. Your brain is not broken. It's doing something it was designed to do. Badly timed, badly aimed, landing in the middle of a meeting or a meal or a moment that has nothing to do with any of this. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain has a reward system that runs constantly in the background, scanning for signals of comfort, safety, connection. It doesn't stop when you're busy. It doesn't wait for an appropriate moment. And when it detects an emotional deficit, stress, fatigue, loneliness, the low hum of not quite feeling okay, it reaches for the fastest dopamine signal it knows. For a lot of people, that signal is sexual thought. Psychologists call this misattribution of arousal. The brain confuses what it needs emotionally with what it wants physically, not because you're oversexed, not because you have no self-control, because the wiring for emotional need and sexual desire runs so close together that under the right conditions, or the wrong ones, the brain pulls the wrong lever. You thought you were just thinking about sex. You weren't. Your brain was trying to feel better, built to find comfort. Built wrong. For the moment you were actually in. Now, here's the part that gets uncomfortable. It gets louder when you're tired, louder when you're stressed, loudest when you're alone and the room has gone quiet and there's nothing between you and however you actually feel. You might have noticed that. You might have assumed it meant something unflattering about you. It doesn't. It means you're running a deficit, not a moral one, an emotional one. When the brain is craving connection, real connection, the kind that requires another person, time, vulnerability, it can't just order that. It can't produce it on demand. So it offers a substitute. A sexual thought arrives. It provides a brief dopamine signal. For a moment, the deficit quiets. Then it comes back, bigger. Because the substitute didn't close the gap, it just reminded the gap it was there. This is the loop. You're not in it because you're weak. You're in it because you're human and you're lonely and your brain is trying, badly, to help. I thought I was just horny 24/7, someone once wrote. And then I realized I feel zero happiness after a release, just emptiness. That emptiness is the gap telling you what it actually needed, just closeness. Not what happened, just closeness. And then there's what comes after, not the thought. After. The moment that arrives before you've even moved, you know the one. The guilt. The quiet, fast-moving certainty that something about you is wrong. That a person with more discipline, more self-respect, more of whatever quality you've decided you're missing, wouldn't be here again. The guilt is not proof you're broken. It's proof you care. The war you're fighting with your own mind, wanting to feel differently than you do, trying to stop something that keeps returning. That's not weakness. That's a specific kind of grief. The grief of a mind that won't cooperate. The exhaustion of asking yourself, why must I feel this? Again, every day. And having no answer that helps. For some people watching this, it goes deeper than stress or loneliness. The thoughts arrived earlier than they should have, connected to things that happened before. You had language for any of it. That is a different kind of weight. It deserves more than one line. But this line is here so you know it was seen. The shame spiral, guilt feeding back into the deficit feeding back into the thought, that's the loop inside the loop. And knowing it exists is not the same as escaping it. Understanding the wiring doesn't rewire it tonight. That's the part no one says out loud. You can know all of this and still feel it. But knowing changes something. It changes what the thought means. It was never about what you thought it was about, not a character flaw, not evidence of who you are, evidence of what you need and how long you've been going without it. If you're the one who carries this, the need underneath the thought is real. Meeting it, slowly, imperfectly, without shame, is the only thing that actually quiets the loop. If you know someone who does, what looks like desire is usually loneliness that ran out of other words. Drop one word in the comments, just one, that describes what it feels like when something finally makes sense. I want to know who's here. There's something about memory I've been sitting with. Why certain things vanish completely, and why the ones you most want to forget never do. You might already know where this is going. If this is the kind of content you've been quietly looking for, you know where to find more of it.